All right, so if you haven't heard somehow yet, the videos that Juby and I made a few days ago about ideas for units to add to the game, the developers took and turned into a contest where you actually get to vote. And Juby did a video going and reacting to mine. So I want to go through and look at his a little bit more in depth and kind of do the same. Really cool thing that they're doing. I think this is really cool. Again, we had no idea they were doing it. And perhaps we would have taken it a little bit more seriously had we known, but I feel like this makes it even more fun because now we've got potential to have some pretty silly units added to the game. But yeah, in their main Discord, which I have linked below if you want to check out, you can go in and vote. I think I've got it set up in a way where we should be able to see everything when I expand. But yeah, shout out to Juby for the idea. He started the idea, and in his video sort of called me out to do the same, come up with 10 ideas for units to add to the game. So it's been a whole fun thing, and then it turned into a much bigger, more fun thing because the developers are just awesome. So yeah, we're gonna jump into it and go through and check out what he's got going on here. The pie pirate. Slice of pie attacks an enemy, deals 10x more damage if the target's HP is divisible by 7. All right. Pastry Parabola launches a perfectly aimed pastry in an arc at the enemy, which will always land as a critical hit and can even target enemies under stealth. Interesting. Cannonball Cobbler attacks all enemies with a sticky pastry, inflicting slow, stun, and 70% decrease attack bar. All right. Pretty solid little unit. 27 votes on that one. Not bad, not bad. Combat Wombat. Tackle, so they're just a straight up Pokemon basic move. Attacks the enemy with a 50% chance to inflict a dot. Claymore Claws attacks a target, dealing pure damage equal to 30% of the target's HP, 10% against bosses. And Marsupial March, speed buff, crit buff, and 20% attack bar boost to the entire team. Man, that's pretty nice. That's a pretty nice little A3 there. Yeah, that ain't bad at all. 32 votes on that one. Papa Pepperoni's pretty popular, 73 votes. All them P's. Papa Pepperoni's pretty popular. All right, Parmigiana Pound deals damage to the enemy with a 20% chance to stun. Noodle Net attacks the enemy team with wet noodles, decreasing the attack gauge by 50% and a 50% chance to stun. Pretty nice. Raviolanche attacks enemies randomly 7 times, with the first hit having a 20% chance to ignore defense, and each subsequent hit increasing the chance to ignore defense by an additional 10%. Okay. So sort of like a tree gunslinger thing going on there. Sort of. Similar vibes. It's funny because in his reaction to mine, he said at one point, you can tell that he spent most of his time in Summoner's War and I spent most of my time in Raid. Because a lot of my skill descriptions were much like beefier. There was a lot more going on in each skill. And I did passives on I think every unit that I made. So I'm definitely, that didn't even occur to me until he said it. Was like, that's a pretty good thought actually, because his are like a little bit simpler. Like there's not quite as much text on a lot of them. And he didn't bother with passives on a lot of them. And for me, I'm like, everything needs a passive, but that's like Raid brain. Dino de los Muertos, 93 votes. It's pretty good. Bone Appetit bites the enemy and restores health equal to 20% of the damage. Sombrero Spin attacks all enemies with a razor sombrero. So fucking Raul from oh, y'all aren't gonna know what that means. Kung Lao. I've always called Kung Lao Raul for some reason. I don't know why. That's just always what I thought his name should have been instead of Kung Lao. So that's what I call him from Mortal Kombat. Attacks all enemies with a razor sombrero, inflicting 2 dots for 2 turns each. That ain't bad. Mariachi Mayhem summons Ghost Mariachi in front of all allies who take the damage and disappear the next instance each ally would take damage. That's pretty interesting. So like, sort of like the way that the, what is it? Like, Foresight, not Foresight. I guess Foresight kind of works that way too. What's the other one? Nullify. The way that those just sit there until they're used rather than expiring at the end of their turn. 93 votes. That's the most, that's the highest votes on any of his so far, I think. Is that the one that, is that his highest voted one? Squid Vicious. Tentacle Whip. Whips an enemy with a tentacle with a 25% chance to land attacks with 2 additional tentacles, each inflicting dots for 2 turns. That's pretty good. Kraken's Command. Attacks the enemy with Squid Ink, inflicting paralysis, blind, and block. Paralysis, blind, and block. That's pretty nasty. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I like that. Shipwreck. Attacks all enemies with 8 hits. Nice. Each hit has a 20% chance to inflict speed down, defense down, taunt, oblivion, damage over time, attack down, mark, and... That's insane. I thought for sure it was going to say or. That's crazy, dude. Each hit has a 20% chance to inflict all of these. Surely that's an or. Surely that's supposed to be an or. Because even if it's 20%, it's 8 hits. That's going to be an insane amount of defense. That's got to be an or. I'm gonna move forward as though that's an or. Amp Mixcamp with 18 votes. Static Sneak attacks the enemy with a 30% chance to stun. Wire Trap attacks all enemies 3 times. The first hit has a 30% chance to stun. Second hit has a 30% chance to block buffs. Third hit has a 30% chance to inflict paralysis. That's pretty dope. Blackout enables stealth for 2 turns. Enables stealth for 2 turns. An attack buff for 2 turns. Then attacks all enemies with a 100% chance to blind and inflict paralysis. All right. Pretty dope. The Croc Duck. I got so tickled in his video because he was so proud of this one. He was so proud of that name. I laughed for a good 10 minutes. He was just so proud of the name. If you haven't seen the video, you need to go watch, at least watch that part of it. I think you should watch the whole thing, but at least watch the part of it where he announces this. You can kind of see it in the still. There's just a lot of pride in those eyes. Alright, Chisel Chomp. Attacks the enemy twice with a 30% chance to inflict defense break with each hit. Drillzilla. Attacks the enemy 4 times with a power drill. Penetrating defense and stunning. Penetrating defense and stunning. Does that mean ignores defense? Interesting. Crown Cracker. Attacks an enemy twice. The first hit, defense breaking and heal blocking. The second hit, inflicting significant damage. Interesting. I feel like this one would be cool if it like if I was going to add something to it. Because I don't know exactly what penetrating defense means. So I feel like I would add an effect to it like sort of how Tree Twin Blade absorbs defense. I would have a thing where it just subtracts their defense. So you don't absorb it, but you do get rid of it. Like you lower their defense with each hit. And maybe it's like 8, I don't know, what's reasonable? 5% each hit or something. And it just lowers their defense permanently. Or put stacks on them maybe that lower their... I don't know. There's some interesting thing there in my head, though. But yeah, Croc Duck. That's pretty good. Vibrato Valentino. Chirp attacks the enemy with a 50% chance to inflict sleep for 1 turn. Ornamental Overture. Sings to allies, granting them with Foresight and Crit Dampen for 2 turns. And then Feathered Falsetto. Motivates team and provides them with immunity and heal over time for 3 turns each. Pretty solid. Pretty solid unit. I feel like it needs a heal, but overall, like solid little support. I like the little character model too. That's good. Dr. Fission, 82. What's the most so far? Is the Dino? Dino's at 93. Dr. Fission Fangs is at 82. Beaker Bash attacks one enemy, inflicting toxic debuff with a 50% chance. Dr. Jackal and Mr. Pride is such a good name. Cleanses and heals by 30% of HP, increasing max HP by 10%, stacks up to 5 times. Cleanses and heals by 30% of HP. And then increases your max HP. Yeah, that's dope. That's pretty sick. Lab Catastrophe mixes all test tubes into one giant explosion, dealing per damage equal to his HP to all units, and then inflicting them with 2 turns of... Holy shit. Pure damage equal to his HP is crazy. Especially in a longer fight. Man, that's nasty, dude. That's nasty. And then to boot, 2 turns of toxic and paralysis. Yeah, he's nasty, dude. He might be the strongest one we've looked at so far. This A3 on Squid Vicious, if that's supposed to be an and, is in contention. I feel like that's a crazy A3. That's super strong. He looks fitting. He would fit in the game. I like him. I'm voting for him. I think that's where I mean, I guess technically I could vote for all of them, but that's the one so far I feel compelled to vote for. Sashimi Shogun, Sake Slice, attacks enemy twice. Nori Storm, attacks random enemies 4 times with Flying Nori, with a 50% chance to inflict blind with each attack. Tempura Tempest, self-buffs crit and counterattack, and attacks enemies 6 times randomly, with a 50% chance to inflict damage over turn. So that's he's just a madman. He's just crazy. Everything's random enemies. Lots of dots if it's on a boss though. Yeah, he's pretty dope too. I actually like that. Oh, and then then we're down to mine. So, if you want to see mine, I would say go watch Juby's video where he reacts to mine. I think that was a pretty fun time. But yeah, if you don't know that this is going on officially in their Discord, they've got a section for it where they kind of explain what's going on, and then there's a thing at the top for character votes. So, go watch the videos. Go in, put your votes in. And yeah, man. Again, shout out to the devs for doing stuff like this. This is a lot of fun. They're doing really cool stuff. Like this 48 hour, I guess, 2-day 48 hour event of like nothing cost energy in the game. It was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that for that amount of time. It was huge event. So big shout out to them. I think they're killing it, man. Making a lot of really good decisions, doing a lot of really fun stuff. And I'm excited to see where things keep going. So that's it. I'm getting out of here. Hope you guys have a good one. Let me know who y'all's favorite is of Juby's. Like who are you gonna vote for in Juby's list? I think Fish and Fangs is probably my favorite. I think he just fits really well in the game. But you got to go see the reaction to his own reaction to Croc Duck. That's it. I'm getting out of here. Have a good one, guys.